Good morning. Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad. Welcome to the Christmas Day edition of Mobile Metron. Let's see if anybody's on here this morning. This very cold Christmas morning. I see Constance on there. Hello, hello. Merry Christmas to you. So it's just Constance and me this morning, okay? Well, that's good. It'll just be you and me. It's all right. Hope everybody's having a good holiday. Oh, Keith's on here, so there's three of us. Ed's on here. All right. We're two or more gathered together. There is Christmas. Ken's watching, so I think we're good. Am I looking good? Yeah, I got it. How you like my fade? Hey, Allie, Merry Christmas. Hey, Connie Sue. Yeah, I went to get a haircut, and this woman who's cutting my hair was just insistent on, hey, Avery, Merry Christmas, giving me a fade, and she did. At first, I was freaking out about it, and then I decided, hey, Michelle. Then I decided I was handsome enough to pull it off, so I'm good with it. Merry Christmas, Connie Sue. Who else we got on here this morning? I'm going to get right to it because we're going to go. Oh, thank you, Keith. Hope you're feeling better. Looks like your 60th birthday celebration was awesome. Sorry we missed it. Hey, John. While you're logging on and greeting each other, let me just only announcement I want to give you is two weeks from today we'll be in the theater. Hey, Chandra, Merry Christmas. Chandra, we've binged the season of Bruh already. It's a trip. You're something else. Hey, Larry, Merry Christmas. Okay, well, we speak healing to you. I speak healing to a lot of people. But that's one reason we didn't come to your things. We weren't feeling all that good, but we're good now. It gets better. But yeah, 2 weeks from today, we will not be, we're usually in the theater. I thought I turned you off. We're usually in the theater first Sunday of the month, but next Sunday will be New Year's Day. So we put it off till the 8th. So we'll be 2 weeks from today. We'll be back in the theater. Johnny Almanza, the incredible cello player that we had a couple months ago, he's going to be back with us. Very excited about that. Looks like a lot of you are already signed up for the meditation weekend. I'll probably drive up to, hey Matt, I'll probably drive up to Helen one day this week and secure us a place to meet inside. We've already got our hotel room, but I need to get a meeting place, and I like to see them in person. This is, let's do some affirmations. I am well. I am wellness. I am. I am whole. I am wholeness. I am. I am peaceful. I am peace. I am. I am joyful. I am joy. I am. For those of you that don't know what I'm doing, when I point to me, I say it. When I point to you, you say it. I am is the highest affirmation. We always want to ascend up to that. I am free. I am freedom. I am. I am blessed. I am a blessing. I am. Beautiful. And again, speak healing to everybody who needs it. Sorry about that. I think this is my, now that I've done affirmations, let me do 2 or 3 breaths with you. I think it really gets everybody in the zone to receive what I'm going to share with you. We're going to go in through the nose, hold it, out through the mouth. Let's go in, hold, exhale. Let all your holiday stress go. Let's go in, out, when we add the breath work to the affirmations, it's very powerful. Hey, Pam, inhale, hold, exhale. Beautiful. I speak into this atmosphere and I say, let there be light. I think this is my maybe 17th Christmas message I've done this month. And the interesting thing about Christmas, the more I say about it, the more there actually is to say about it. But after today, I will not do this message again until next year. Sorry, I know that's obnoxious. I'm moving okay. Hey, Paul. So, Luke chapter 1, it's the story of when the archangel Gabriel appears to Mary. It's what we call the Annunciation. It's where he, just out of the blue, invades her life and tells her what's about to happen to her. He fails to mention, because he says she's going to have a baby and what his name's going to be, and he lays all of this, incredible, astounding information on her. He fails to mention, he leaves a few details out, because in the next chapter it says, and there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed, and everybody had to go to their hometown. And I don't know how far, wherever Mary and Joseph were living, I don't know how far Bethlehem was from there, but back in that time, everything was far. I mean, you didn't just get in a car or a plane and knock it out in a couple of hours. You wherever you went, you're on the back of a camel or a donkey, and many times you're going where there aren't any roads. So it's kind of a big deal. And Caesar Augustus, the Roman Empire, controlled Israel at that time, and so everybody had to go to their hometown. You couldn't, there was no computer. You couldn't do it online. There was no mail system. You couldn't mail it. So everybody had to go to the city of their birth to have this big census for whatever reason. I guess Caesar Augustus was, trying to maintain control of the Roman Empire, I'm assuming. But anyway, that meant that Joseph had to go to his hometown, which was Bethlehem. And what's interesting about the story is, by this time, Mary's at least in her third trimester of birth. They didn't have to wait for TSA lines, exactly. Well, so there's that. Good point. Hey, Tina. Hey, Will. Merry Christmas. So what's interesting, you have to kind of fill in the blanks to get all of this. Hey, Mike in Africa. Good to see you on here. But you would think, how even today, if a woman's towards the end of her pregnancy, doctors advise you not to travel, not to get on planes or whatever. And here, Mary, she's, close to the end of her pregnancy, and she goes with Joseph to Bethlehem. I have to assume, and I've taught on this more in depth in previous years, but what I see in that is that her story of this immaculate conception, that she's pregnant, and it's not Joseph's baby, it's no man's baby. That's not how people learn the facts of life. When her mother explained to her the birds and the bees, she didn't say, Mary, a wonderful thing's going to happen to you one day. An archangel is going to appear to you and tell you that you're going to have birth when the Holy Spirit overshadows you. So, you would think if Joseph's got to go back to Bethlehem for however long that journey was, it couldn't have been pleasant for a woman that far along in pregnancy to be on the back of an animal and traveling like that. You would think, didn't Mary have a mother or some sisters or some girlfriends who would have just insisted Yeah, apparently Byron. It seems like the women in her life would have, or her midwife or somebody would have insisted, please don't accompany him on this journey because you're not going to have time to get there and get back before you go into labor. And the very fact that she goes with him on this journey implies to me that nobody was buying her story. That's my imagination. I think, I feel like her story probably alienated her from her, circle of friends, because, there had to have been some girlfriend of hers that would have taken her aside and say, Mary, this is me. Tell me the truth. Who's the baby daddy? I mean, stop this talking about God's impregnated you. I mean, this is me. I'm not going to tell. Who is it? Is it Joseph? Did you and Joseph have sex? I mean, what's going on? And Mary just holds to this story. She's like, I know y'all think I'm crazy. I'm telling you, I have not been with a man, and an angel told me that the Holy Spirit's going to sire this child of mine. And, if you've ever had somebody that has a story that you just can't buy, and somebody that you're close to, and you say, look, just between you and me, tell me the truth. I'm not going to uncover you, but, this is me. Don't lie to me and tell me this. And she's like, I'm telling you, this is the truth. The way I visualize it, I think everybody in her life finally said, fine, Mary, if this, if you're going to lie like this, just, figure it out. And so, her and Joseph on the way to Bethlehem is sort of like you and me against the world. Nobody's on our side in this. Like it doesn't appear that anybody besides her cousin Elizabeth, because, in that same prophecy, he says, and your cousin who is postmenopausal, she's pregnant also. And so Mary goes to her, and the story about how the babies leap in the womb when the two women salute each other. But outside of, she didn't go stay with Elizabeth. I mean, to me, the fact that she goes with Joseph, her fiance, means you're all I got. Nobody else is supporting me in this. The Holy Spirit's my baby daddy. I mean, like nobody believes me. So she's like, no, I'm going with you. I don't even know if he encouraged it. I mean, I would think, if that were me, I would say, oh, wow, that's cool, Hakeem, Elijah, Hakeem, Adonijah. That's awesome. Always glad to have you on here. If that were me, if that were my fiance, I would say, look, this journey's going to be too hard. I can move faster if I just go by myself. I'll go to Bethlehem. I'll knock it out. I'll be back as soon as possible. Because, having a woman in her third trimester is going to slow you down, obviously. But for some reason, she decided, like, no, I'm going with you. So they go. Angel doesn't tell her any of that. Doesn't tell her that you're going to get to Bethlehem and you're not going to find any place to stay. And believe it or not, you're not only not going to have a birthing room. They didn't have hospitals then, but you're not going to have a clean place for you to have your baby. You guys are going to have to go to a stable, and you're not going to have a crib. You're going to lay him in a feeding trough. He leaves out that. And in previous years when I've taught that, I've accentuated the part about just because you're in a time of inconvenience and things aren't going according to plan doesn't mean you're not on your path. I'm sure when Mary and Joseph get to Bethlehem and they cannot find a place, and her water's broken and Joseph's frantically trying to find a place, you would think most people would be like, we've made a terrible mistake. We shouldn't have done this. We're not in the flow. I'm crazy. There's no angel that appeared to me. This is where I want to take it today, because I've said all of these things in previous years. But in verse 34 of Luke chapter 1, she asks this very simple question. She says, how can this be, seeing that I haven't been with a man? And like I always tell you, I mean, my theology is extremely progressive. But I I still embrace the Apostles' Creed. That's my personal choice. I believe in a virgin birth and a literal resurrection and all that kind of stuff. Many of my contemporaries don't. That's their choice. I'm all about namaste. I'm just saying, for me personally, that's sacrosanct. Having said that, this question, how can this be? To me, that's the word of the Lord this morning. It's like, there's so many things in your life that you have no idea, things that have already worked out, that turned out okay. And you know how like the famous Mahalia Jackson gospel song where she says, how I got over, my soul looks back in wonder how I got over. There's some things you came through and you're like, how did that work out? I mean, how did I get through that? How did I survive that? Some of you think about coming through this year, some of the stuff you've been through this year, and you're still okay and you're still in your right mind. You're writing checks and you're thinking, how do I still have money? I mean, this is like the widow's cruise of oil. I keep spending and spending and, like somehow I still have money to spend. How is that possible? How can this be? And there's things coming up in the new year that you think, I don't know how the heck that's going to work out. And it's a legitimate question. How can this be? And sometimes, I remember Kim Clement saying one time, for whatever, Kim Clement and I were not always on the same page a lot, but he did have a prophetic gift. I remember him saying one time at Church in the Now, he said, it's not a paragraph or even a sentence from the Lord. It's a word from the Lord. And sometimes all you get is just a word. It's all you got. It's like, your little piece of the fortune cookie, and you don't know how the rest of it's going to work out. So all Gabriel says to her is this grandiose thing. I'm not going to tell you how it's going to happen. I mean, how do you get ready for the Holy Spirit to impregnate you? I mean, what do you even do? And, so she says, how can this be? That's a legit question that all of us have to ask all the time. How did I survive that? And how am I going to get through this? And how's that going to work out? And what are we going to do in 2023? And all these things. And all you have is like this little bit of a promise. It's just like this one little word. And when you try to tell somebody about it, they say, did Gabriel say anything else? Like, nope, he just came in and said, you're going to have a baby, and boom, he was out. You're like, wow, thanks, Gabriel. Could you have given me a few more details? Many times the journey unfolds as you take it. You don't have all your I's dotted and all your T's crossed. You just have to get on a donkey and go to Bethlehem and say, well, we'll figure it out when we get there. And then when you get there and your water breaks and there's no place to have the baby, you got to figure it out. And you end up in a stable and you lay the baby in a manger. And it sounds like, man, we must be out of the zone. We must be out of the flow. No, you're not. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Just because it doesn't look beautiful, just because it stinks right now and you're smelling cow dung everywhere, doesn't mean you're not in your flow. Now, that's not even what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is this. So, last night we went out to Putnam County, and when I say Putnam County, where his niece and her husband live, it's not even in Eatonton. I mean, it takes a while to get there. And on the way back, we got stuck in all places in Covington. For about half an hour, we were at a standstill. I never did see what the holdup was, but we actually walked. Believe it or not, we walked in the door here at exactly 11:11. But it was too late to set up to do a teaching, so it's fine. But so we exchanged some gifts. Ken and I did. And then I watch this every year. I will always watch the live from the Vatican. I always watch that on Christmas Eve. I just do. It's just like part of a tradition. And the whole time I'm watching, because I've been to the Vatican, I've been to the Sistine Chapel. It's beautiful. I'd love to go back there again. I'm not Catholic, but I just think it's beautiful and historic. And while I'm watching it, I don't watch TV. I study TV, so I'm Googling it, and I was Googling about is it Bernini, that the great sculptor that did that those columns and archway over it. Supposedly it's Peter's grave, because he was martyred under Nero, and everything is supposed to be built on that, which is why they believe, Catholics believe that Peter was literally the first pope, and when Jesus said, "Upon this rock I build my church," they believe, Roman Catholics believe, that he literally meant Peter. I believe it's the word Petra, which means this revelation is what I build my rock on. But here's my point. I'm watching it, and it's beautiful, and there's parts of it that I don't relate to, but there's parts of it that are just beautiful and mystical and grand, and I don't need to agree with everything in Catholicism. I don't need to be naive to problems with Roman Catholicism. Clearly, there's been problems with priests, sexual abuse. I know all of that. Let me tell you my point in bringing this up, because the Pope, he can hardly walk now because he has pain in his knee, so he's in a wheelchair. And towards the end of it, they said the Pope is going to pronounce a blessing on everybody who's watching. And I closed up my computer and, I sat there and let the Pope bless me. Let me tell you why I can do that. You know how I'm always saying that my theology is yes and, it's not either or? To me, Christmas is the perfect nexus of all the mystical, mythological, magic, all these supernatural events, all coming together in this, like on December 25th or around there. Like, for instance, yesterday I was scrolling through the feed, and, of my 5,000 friends on my main page, we run the gamut. I've got old school fundamentalist Christian friends who, their agenda is Jesus is the reason for the season. And they're real strong about not saying happy holidays. They want to say Merry Christmas. And I'm like, all right, Merry Christmas. I mean, whatever, fine, Merry Christmas. And then I got other friends that, they're always making the point that, the Jesus story is really the story of Dionysus or Mithra, and how Dionysus was born on December 25th. He's born of a virgin. He had 12 disciples. And they make their point, and I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. Cool. Yay, Dionysus. It doesn't make me not celebrate Christmas. And then I'm looking at other people refuting what those people are saying. There was like some guy had just posted copious historical things about how, because people like me will usually say that the Catholic Church Christianized the pagan holidays. He was making a whole point that that's not true. And I'm like, whatever, dude. I mean, I'm good with all of it. The winter solstice, yay. The pagans celebrated it. All right, fine. The Druids worship trees, which is why we had Christmas trees. Okay, fine. And even as I'm saying this, there's probably somebody who could correct me and say, no, it wasn't the Druids. I'm like, I don't care about your agenda. To me, Christmas is about all of it. Christmas is about the ghost of Christmas past and the ghost of Christmas present and the ghost of Christmas future, and Clarence the angel visiting George Bailey, and Jesus born of a virgin. And I got other friends saying, that all these white nativities, Jesus was black. I'm like, okay, fine. Jesus is black. I have no problem with that. It's like, whatever your agenda is, I'm operating at a different level. I'm like, go ahead and make your point, put forth your agenda. That's not what I care about. If I read something and you say, The story of Jesus is really the story of Dionysus. I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, isn't it kind of all a matter of semantics? And to me, I'm watching the Vatican, and there's so many things about Catholicism that I think is really just beautiful, and the pageantry of it, especially conducive to this. And it doesn't mean I'm about to convert to Catholicism. There were some things, I listened to the Pope's speech, his sermon, and there's some parts of it I'm like, whatever. And there's other parts when he was going to bless everybody, I thought, he's the Pope, for God's sake. Let him bless me. What's it going to hurt? I didn't convert to Catholicism. To me, Christmas is the ultimate manifestation of yes and. It's all of it. It's all, and if Christmas has become a platform to you where you're trying to prove a theological point or disprove a theological point, that's your business. I'm not telling you what to do. I would just like to encourage you to come up higher and just relax and just enjoy it. It's so much. Look, let me tell you why when people, and this hardly happens anymore, because most people that abuse my messenger, I just end up blocking. But sometimes when people want to keep engaging me taking me to task on, you said this, but this verse actually says this. The reason I don't engage with you, it's not that I can't argue a point. It's that I understand the point you're making, and your point is valid. And let me tell you why I'm saying this. Last night they're talking about, when I'm watching the Vatican, they're talking about Luke chapter 2, where the angels appear to the shepherds, and they sing, glory to God in the highest. I'm thinking, how do they know that happened? I mean, there's no reporter there from CNN. Did one of the shepherds just happen to say, let me tell y'all what happened? Somebody write this down. And even at that, you still got to take his word for it. So there's no way to prove that happened. There's no scientific evidence for any of it, including the Bible. We don't even have original text of the Bible. I remember the last time I was in Jerusalem, two things happened that always stand out in my mind. We were touring. I was with the Global Peace Festival, and one day we toured all of the main Christian sites, Jewish sites, and Muslim sites. And it was informative. Some of the places I'd been to before, it introduced me to some other places. And it was cool. But we're standing, if you ever see a picture if you've never been to Jerusalem, you see that gold dome, the Dome of the Rock. It was, that's built on Mount Moriah, which is where Abraham supposedly was going to sacrifice Isaac. And somewhere around the year 500, I believe, Muslims built a mosque on top of that. And so that little piece of real estate is like it's this hotly contested little piece of land because Jews, Muslims, and Christians, it's a holy site for all of them. So we're standing on the steps of this, and we've got a Muslim tour guide who's telling us the history of the mosque, and it's interesting. But it's like 103 degrees that day, and I've got on a suit, a clerical shirt, which is made out of silk, and the clerical collar is made out of plastic. Let me just tell you, it doesn't breathe. And so we're standing out there in the hot sun, and I'm melting. And the guy is he's telling the story of why this site is so holy to Islam. And he says, it is from this site that Muhammad ascended into heaven on 3 chariots. Well, when he said it, his partner interrupts him and goes, no, my friend, I'm sorry, I'm doing the accent, but he says, no, my friend, it was not 3 chariots, it was 5 chariots. Well, they get into this argument over whether it's 3 or 5. And I'm soaking wet, sweating, and they're going at it. I mean, I thought they were going to come to blows over whether it was 3 or 5 chariots. And I wanted to go, gentlemen, it didn't even happen, so it doesn't matter. Pick a number. 7 chariots, 20 chariots, whatever. If Islam is what works for you, you're missing the point. The letter kills, the spirit gives life. And the other thing that happened while we were there, I'm sorry, these days you got to be careful with the accents, Byron. I know that's, it's not politically correct anymore. But so anyway, also while we were there, they usually keep the Dead Sea Scrolls in a refrigerated place. You can't see them. But periodically they will bring out a particular scroll, and under glass you can go look at it. If you don't know what the Dead Sea Scrolls are, back in the 40s, there was a shepherd boy somewhere on a hillside in Palestine, and he's in a cave, and he throws a rock, and he hears something break, and it's pottery. And when he looks in there, and it's these leather scrolls. He had no idea what they were. He went into town to try to sell them for shoe leather. But somebody who knew about antiquities recognized that they were copies of the Old Testament. We have no copies of the New Testament. With the New Testament, you just have to take somebody's word for it that whatever's written down and translated actually was said, because we've got no original letter from Paul or anything. And so they had, I think it was Isaiah 40 they had, and we stood in this long line to see it, and it was under glass, and we got up to it. I was waiting for, some sort of feeling of, and I looked at it, and it was just like, it was impressive. I mean, beautiful penmanship, and, these, I'm assuming Hebrew letters written across this long scroll. And I looked at it, and they had the English translation up there, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. But there wasn't any sort of profound feeling of, you're looking at original documents. It didn't feel like that at all. Because I'm looking at it, and I think somebody just wrote that down because it came from somebody else's oral tradition. I'm not saying to throw the Bible out. I'm not saying not to believe it. What I'm saying is, you're going to have to have some wiggle room in your interpretation of things. And Christmas is a perfect reminder of that. To me, I get so much more bang for the buck with Christmas because I just enjoy all of it. I could watch the Vatican last night and not be a Catholic. And even when we were in New York a couple of weeks ago, we always go to St. Patrick's Cathedral, and it's always a beautiful experience for me. And I always pick up, they always said the Catholic prayer book. I always pick it up and read the entry for that day. It's like a daily thing that they use for the Mass. And not every time, but many times it'll be like, wow, that's really a pertinent word for me tonight. So it's like, it's beautiful. I'm not Catholic. If you want to argue with me about which historians decided that this was pagan or it wasn't, I don't care. I'm not mad at pagans. If you're a pagan, yay. It's not I was thinking about this today. One of the main titles of Jesus is Prince of Peace. And, it's too bad that, if we're going to celebrate his birthday on December 25th, or whenever he was born, if there's ever going to be one holiday that you have peace over, let it be this. And that includes Hanukkah and the Festival of Lights. I can read all about the Maccabees and the oil that didn't go out. And I'm not Jewish, but I think, oh, that's cool. I can celebrate Hanukkah. I mean, sure, let's light a menorah. I'll spin a dreidel. Fine. I don't know that much about Kwanzaa, but I'm all about it. I mean, whatever. That's why it doesn't bother me when somebody says, happy holidays, because I think this season, aside from just New Year's next week, but this season it's full of all kind of holidays. So come down off I'm not telling you what to do. I would like to advise you as an elder. Come down off your theological high horse and just enjoy it. Is it pagan? Yeah. Is it Christian? Yeah. Is it Jewish? Yeah. Is it Catholic? Yeah. Is it Protestant? Yeah. You're missing out on all the fun because you're making your point. It's like, okay, fine. I respect your point. I'm not even arguing with you about your point. I just wish you could enjoy Christmas a lot more because I enjoy it. And in a way, I kind of believe all of it because it's all full of truth and mythology and magic and mysticism. And, inevitably there'll be somebody who will say, there's no way that the wise men could have followed a star because stars don't move. I'm like, okay, Mr. Science, whatever. You're missing the point. As you get older, like today I was posting a lot of memory pictures, and I have to go through every year. I have to go through because with all four of my kids and their exes, I have to delete so many pictures because they're not. He's not with her. She's not with him. It took me 30 minutes to delete all the appropriate pictures so nobody gets offended. But then in those memories, there's pictures of me with my dad, who's not here anymore. There's pictures of Ken with his dad, who's not here anymore. There's other people that I see in those pictures like, wow, they're not here anymore. I mean, just in the time that Ken and I have been together, I mean, we've seen a lot of transition. So, it's Christmas. It's just here for a nanosecond. So just enjoy the magic of it because it's just here for a second. And whatever your belief is, if you say this is the story of Dionysus, okay, fine. Yay. He was the god of wine. Somebody pour me a glass. I'll have a glass of wine with you. Hey, what's up, Dionysus? It's like, it's all magic and it's all wonderful. And, today or last night or whatever, you may be with family members who drive you crazy. They just are who they are. If you can just let it go for a few minutes and kind of just indulge them and let them say their political stuff or whatever, and just come up higher. And back to my original point, when Mary says, how can this be? My question is, how can any of it be? Like when they started the Vatican thing last night, it came out at 11:30. The first guy who spoke kind of walked through the whole tradition of, in this year this happened, and this year that happened, whatever. And I'm actually kind of interested in that, and I was listening to that and I thought, wow, this is everything I'm seeing here is a consummation of thousands of years of different mythologies and mysticism that came together. And it still needs to be tweaked. I'm looking at they had beautiful little kids from all over the world. It looked like a Benetton commercial. And they're surrounding these nativity figures who clearly look European. And there's no doubt that, the Europeans just sort of, appropriated something that was, if not African, definitely at least Middle Eastern, and sort of created it in their image. So if people want to, if you want to have a black Santa Claus or a black Jesus or whatever, I'm like, fine. It's not either or, it's yes and. It's kind of the way I am by Christmas, like I am with my patriotism. It's like America's got all kind of skeletons in its closets that we need to be reminded of. We need to, it needs to be in front of us every day until we form a more perfect union. But in the meantime, ain't nobody trying to leave America. People gripe about it, and I don't see anybody getting on a boat trying to go anywhere. Everybody complains about it, but we all want to stay. And so my thing is like, yeah, there's all kind of terrible things that, have to be addressed. And you say, well, what do you think the descendants of slaves should get reparations? Okay, fine. Figure out how to do it. I'm a taxpayer. I'm okay with that. I don't know how you would do it, but they somehow sent a check to everybody during COVID. So I guess there's got to be a way. And, I'm like, well, whatever. Let's make it, let's make it better. But in the meantime, it's pretty good, and that's I'm not telling you to be in denial. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm suggesting, no, don't be in denial, but also just enjoy your life a little more. Enjoy Christmas a little more. I've got a doctor's appointment. I've got my checkups coming up Thursday, and I thought, why did I make this appointment right after Christmas? Because we've enjoyed the holidays, and I've put on some pounds again, and I know he's going to say something, and it just is what it is. I'm going to have to walk in and say, yeah, I ate what I wanted to at Christmas, whatever, whatever. I'm fine with that. I don't know what you're going to do with your mule, Pam, but if, I'm good with you getting it. I'm saying you're still here too. Like, we all want it to get better, but in the meantime, we ain't going anywhere. And that's the way it is with Christmas. It's like we all can say our little piece about it, but just enjoy it. It's going to be over in a few hours. And before you know it, this will be Christmas 2022 will be another one for the history books. So whatever you believe, I probably believe on some level too. Namaste with me is not just a word. It's actually a state of mind. And so I really hope you have a beautiful one. And I hope to see you in a couple of weeks. Look, this is the last. Those of you that support the ministry, and a lot of you have dropped off. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just saying it's a real thing. I know you've had other stuff going on, but this is your last Sunday to give to the ministry if you want it to count for, if you use it for your charitable donations. So go to bishinthenow.com and just do what you can. I would appreciate it. Run you your check. Okay. But if I've been a blessing to you at all this year, thanks for all the comments, but I also have all the Cash Apps. So if you want to show me a little love, I would appreciate that. And those of you that 2 or 3 of you have already done that, so thank you. Thank you for remembering, because y'all sure text me for everything and ask me to pray. I wake up in the morning with a prayer list of people. So I got lots of people that call on the name of Bishop Swilley. A lot. So that's all good. But, I tipped my concierge this week. I did, all the people that really helped me out during the year. So if I've helped you out, come on. What's up? And I appreciate it. It's good ground to sow into. And I believe whatever you sow will be sowed back 100-fold to you. So whatever you believe, celebrate it. Or don't celebrate it. If you say, I don't even believe in Christmas, then fine. Just don't rain on everybody else's parade if they want to celebrate it. Because I like to celebrate it all. Every belief system has a little something in it that I can enjoy and benefit from. Ebony, I'll put the link up for all of them. But anyway, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, Happy Holidays, and as far as I know, I'll probably do an 11:11 tomorrow night. I'm here for y'all all the time. I'm always here. So I just want to remind you of that. So anyway, Merry Christmas. I love you all. And whatever's coming up and you say, I don't know how this is going to work out, ask, how can this be? It'll work out. You may end up in a stable. You may have to use a manger, but it'll get done. It'll all happen. You'll be okay. Peace on earth, goodwill toward people. Peace.